coverings of the universe, very, very amazing description. He exited from the coverings of the universe, the Jyoti, and he had an experience there with Mahakala. And then when that experience interrupted or broken, or the next experience awaiting him was Lord Shiva, and the Sankirtan was accompanying Lord Shiva. And we're in next 76 was most faithful wife, and his companions headed by Nandi added enthusiasm of their Lord by playing music, chanting the Supreme Lord's names and so on. Suddenly, I saw attractive forearms and to ride, adorned with all the opulences of youth, charm, beauty, and fortune. These are Vishnu Dutas, making their way into the mature world to spread the glories of the Lord. And there's the reason for selecting this section. There's a very long series of this where Dutas are making a comparison between the process of meditation and remembrance to chanting. Detailed, very thorough. Some of the attendants who sang at Lord Shiva's side as he danced had forearms also. The newly arrived four-armed persons were exceptionally beautiful. Text 8. Their limbs so effulgent as their very ornaments, and the Shaivites seem invisible. Those four-armed persons in the bliss of singing the sublime glories of their Lord. All their ornaments and accoutrements were beautiful beyond words, and company of those persons were four brothers before, led by Sika. That's, he saw them in Tapaloka, the four Kumara. Yeah. Commentary. Sanaka and his brothers reside on where Gopakumar had before. They are as exalted as the residents of Loka, and regions even higher, because they are empowered incarnations, Lord. Text 80. Oh, attract was my mind by the spontaneous joy of seeing them, Vishnu's, that I was aware of them internally or externally, not even things most dear to me. After a moment, I came back to normal consciousness, but I couldn't bring myself to make me their servant. I felt too afraid and embarrassed to ask an unlikely blessing, even silently within. Commentary. Gopakumar thought it would be offensive for such an insignificant person as he to ask for the exaltation of a servant of the Vaikunta messengers. So couldn't summon the courage to submit his request. Next. Simply embracing them, Lord Shiva could go into a swoon, and in my wretched longing troubled me. A longing that just once, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, those persons might somehow talk to me, or on some pretext might save me by the mercy of their sidelong glance. Commentary. Kumar thought that only the mercy of these wonderful persons would save him from dying untimely out of frustration, without even knowing who they were and from where they had come. He was convinced they were great souls. Text 84. The goddess Uma, who always acts in accord with Lord Shiva's heart, understood what I was thinking, Gopakumar. She had Ganesh gently address me. Commentary. Ganesh to Gopakumar in a quiet voice, because what he was about to say was too confidential for all companions of Lord Shiva to hear. Lord Shiva's consort party, or Uma, always present in her husband's heart, only with his sanction. Text 85. Sri Ganesh said, "These are associates of the ruler of Vaikuntha, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. They have attained bodily form similar to his, and have come here from Vaikuntha itself." Commentary. The word Kila means certainly this is true. You should not doubt that they have come from the spiritual world. Unquote. Just see these the companions of the Lord traveling in this small universe, ruled by four Brahma, and other way, those others moving swiftly in the universe, an eight-headed Brahma, a world twice as large, and those others in the world of a Brahma with 16 heads, a world twice as large again. Commentary. To show that these visitors from Vaikuntha indeed extraordinary, Sri Ganesh one more entering the other side of the universe, a great distance away, some other mission. And beyond this relatively small universe of four-headed Brahma, still other Vaikuntha messengers were visiting the world of an eight-headed Brahma, which was billion yojanas in diameter, twice as big as this one. They were traveling swiftly, Vegataha, because that universe is so large. Going further, showed the same thing in universes still larger. Translation. In this way, Ganesh showed me many Vaikuntha companions of the Lord, traveling with ease in the millions and billions of universes, of modes, of huge Brahmas, who had millions and billions of lotus faces. The Vaikuntha devotee, attractive to the eyes and mind, all had bodies and were suitably ready for universes that they were visiting. Commentary. One afternoon, Ganesh pointed out messengers from Vaikuntha, the universes of a Brahma with 32 heads, 64 heads, 128 heads, and so on. God could perceive no end to these countless uses. Paragraph. That there are material universes beyond counting is stated in the scriptures, such as Srimad Bhagavatam. Then there's from 10:14. It's Brahma's prayer. 11. Kwaham tamo mahad aham ka karagni bhu. It's the first line, and there's 4 lines. What am I, a small creature, measuring 7 steps of my own hand, and I am in a pot-like universe composed of material nature, the total material, false ego, ether, air, water, and earth. And what is your glory? Unlimited universes through the pores of your body, just like part of dust passed through openings of a screened window. Then another verse. Okay, yeah, the other verse is Canto 10, chapter 7. Prayers by the personified Vedas. Because you are unlimited, neither the lords of heaven, even you yourself, can even reach the end of your glories. The last universe, each enveloped in its shell, are compelled by the wheel of time to wander within you like particles of dust blowing about in the sky. And the Shrutis, following their method of eliminating everything separate from the Supreme, become successful by revealing you as their final conclusion. Okay, so now there's one more reference. Canto 6, chapter 16. Where it says, every universe is covered by 7 layers, it names them, each 10 times greater than the one previous. Besides our universe, there are innumerable others, and although unlimitedly large, they move about like atoms in you. Therefore, you are called unlimited, Ananta. And then an important paragraph in the purport, final. Gopal could easily see into all the material universes from where he stood in the Abode of Liberation, because that realm is free from any covering of material energy. In each universe, he saw the Vaikuntha messengers had assumed forms with a different size and showed potencies just suitable for that universe. Had the visitors from Vaikuntha not made themselves appear similar in size and form to the inhabitants of the universe they were visiting, those inhabitants would not receive them with the respect deserved by representatives of Lord Narayana. Sri Ganesh continued, these persons, that's the Vishnudutas, cherish only devotional service to the Lord. They travel as they please, spreading pure devotion everywhere. They save the Lord's devotees from all fears, even at the time of death, if those devotees have but once had even a reflection of the Lord's name on the tip of their tongues, or the path to their ears. In the commentary, here Sri Ganesh explains why the messengers of Vaikuntha visit all the universes. Acting on their own initiative, they travel everywhere to spread devotional service to the Supreme Lord, eager to distribute fearlessness to the Lord's devotees. Even though Vaishnavas have nothing to fear from anything material, they still fear obstructions to their bhakti. The Vaikuntha-vasis always endeavor to help Vaishnavas everywhere overcome impediments to devotional progress. They protect anyone who has at least once chanted or heard the holy name of Lord Vishnu, or even a shadow of his name uttered neglectfully or in jest, contempt, or pain. So now back to the four Kumaras. And others, the best of lifelong celibates, are the Supreme Lord's incarnation devotees. They wander for the benefit of all the worlds, just like the Lord's Vaikuntha associates. It's taking a while to get to what I want to read. We're getting a background picture. So back to the Kumaras. They live on Tapaloka, where they give reassurance and security to the residents who at times feel helpless in the absence of their Lord Narayana. Commentary: Gopakumara might wonder why the self-contented Kumara sages had accompanied the benevolent visitors from Vaikuntha. To answer the stout, Sri Ganesh speaks, text 92, this is 93, 92 through 95, so there's two more after this. The messengers of Vaikuntha are servants of the Lord Vaikuntha-nath, and the four Kumaras are empowered Shaktivesh avatars of the same Lord. By personal example, therefore, the Kumaras promote the cause of Lord Narayan's devotional service wherever they go. They spend most of their time on Tapaloka because the celibate masters of yoga who reside there depend on their guidance. The Kumaras teach them the path of yoga and also create for them the highest good, the highest good fortune, by speaking about the Supreme Lord and engaging them in congregational chanting of his glories, as expressed in this verse by the word Iva. When Lord Vishnu is absent from Tapaloka, the residents suffer as if they have lost contact with him, but in their meditation they always see him. So part of the what's going to happen is, the Vaikuntha-vasis have arrived. So there's Lord Shiva and Parvati and that group. There's the four Kumaras that came with the Vaikuntha-vasis, or Vaikuntha Dutas, Vishnu Dutas. And Ganesh is giving an introduction to these people that just arrived. These brothers have just gone to Vaikuntha and seen the Supreme Lord, whose transcendental qualities are all attractive. They filled themselves with a limitless flood of ecstasy that ridicules the bliss of liberation, and they drank the sublime nectar of pure devotion to Lord Hari in the company of his devotees. Short purport. Sanaka Kumar and his brothers were traveling with the messengers of Vaikuntha because the four brothers had just been there themselves and were returning from their visit. They are Atmaramas, self-satisfied sages, but the transcendental qualities of Lord Vishnu attract even Everyone, even the Atmaravas. In Vaikuntha, the Kumaras had seen the Supreme Lord in person and felt ecstasy that belittled the happiness of impersonal liberation. They had chanted the Lord's glories along with the Vaikuntha devotees and enjoyed the wonderful nectar of bhakti rasa. Ganesh ends. What more can I say about Vaikuntha Loka? With its opulence, it displays the final limit of eternal, unlimited joy. It is blessed abundantly by the ever visible pastimes of the lotus feet of the Lord, the husband of the goddess of fortune. The Lord's loving devotees easily gain that Vaikuntha, but persons with minds tarnished by the bad idea of complete oneness and the yearning for liberation can hardly hope to achieve it, even in their dreams. Commentary. Returning from his digression about why the four Kumaras are present, Sri Ganesh here summarizes glorification of Vaikuntha. He feels he has now said enough, since his words are not capable of adequately describing the greatness of Lord Narayan's abode. Vaishnavas who have pure love for the Lord can easily enter Vaikuntha. But the impersonalists who prefer the oneness of mukti to the reciprocations of devotional service have little hope of being admitted. Many shastras confirm this. For example, here's examples. Yoga Vashishta Ramayana. Yoga Vashishta Ramayana.
There's a Yoga Vashishta.
But it's specific. I've seen this before. It's described in Chaitanya Bhagavat that that's what Mukunda Datta was hearing, not just Yoga Vashishta, but even more specifically. Anyway, that's the reference. An ignorant, this is the quote, the Sanskrit is here, an ignorant, half-awake person who likes to say everything is Brahman earns by this entanglement in a network of terrible hells. The Brahma Vaivarta Purana also says, gives the Sanskrit, a person full of attachment for sense gratification who likes to say, I am Brahman, will burn in hell for billions of kalpas. And in another Purana, doesn't say where, gives the Sanskrit, a person stuck in worldly enjoyment who says, I am Brahman, has fallen both from the Vedic duties and from Brahman realization. He should be rejected like an outcast. Since materialists who identify themselves with Brahman are said to fall into hell, surely those who imagine themselves identical with Para-Brahman, the personality of Godhead, are even more condemned. So here's the last line, Sri Ganesh. If you receive the full mercy of my Father, you will hear the glories of Vaikuntha and go there to see them for yourself. Commentary. Rather than trying to present more of the glories of Vaikuntha in his own words, Ganesh here directs Gopakumar to see them for himself, since Gopakumar has already been granted Lord Shiva's personal audience. Lord Shiva's complete mercy should not be difficult for him to obtain. Receiving the full mercy of Lord Shiva Receiving the full mercy of Lord Shiva results not in attaining Shivaloka, but in reaching Vaikuntha to serve Lord Vishnu in pure devotional service. It's very subtle. The messages are they're complete, but they're subtle. You have to add a whole bunch of things, to subtle things, to make it. Oh, that's what he's saying. Gopi Pranadana, bless his heart. Great service. Okay, text 99. Sri Gopakumar said, "Oh, Brahmana," that's the Mathura Brahmana he's speaking to, "I quickly became ardent to reach that place, and that feeling made me dance wildly on a stage made of waves of a vast ocean of anxiety." How poetic, how beautiful. Commentary: Gopakumar's eagerness made him anxious about whether he would reach Vaikuntha. From the many thoughts flashing through my mind, I concluded I was unfit to go. I cried profusely, and the force of my sorrow made me faint and suddenly fall to the ground. That most merciful of souls, the one best friend of the Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva, who cannot tolerate the distress of others, picked me up and spoke to console me. Commentary: Lord Shiva Mahadev was ready to give his full mercy to Gopakumar. Sri Mahadev said, "My dear Vaishnav, both Parvati and I, just like you, want to live forever in that Vaikuntha Loka." Commentary: Lord Shiva notes that the same desire harbored by him and his wife has developed in Gopakumar. Because Lord Shiva and Gopakumar share the same interest, it is implied, perhaps Gopakumar should come to Lord Shiva's planet and stay happily with him for some time. Text 103. But that world is exceedingly difficult to attain. Indeed, even liberated souls pray to achieve it. Brahma's sons and Brahma himself strive for it, and so even do I. Commentary: for the liberated impersonalists and for the demigods such as Shiva, Brahma, and the sons of Brahma like Bhrigu, the spiritual world Vaikuntha is sadhya, the goal to be attained, but not yet sadhita, actually obtained. Text 104. Only one who has completely perfected his religious duties, who is pure, who is done with selfish motives, can achieve the mercy of Sri Hari. If that mercy is multiplied 100 times, one attains the post of Brahma. And if 100 times again, one can become like me. And if one obtains from the divine personality of Godhead more mercy than I, 100 times more, one can go to Vaikuntha. Really long purport. 2 pages, not so long. This is how difficult it is to achieve entrance into Vaikuntha. Lord Shiva also described this in his instructions to the Prachetas in the 4th canto Bhagavatam. Quotes the verse. Quote, "A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. And if he becomes more qualified, he can approach me." But a person directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu is in unalloyed devotional service, is at once promoted to the spiritual planets. I and other demigods attain those planets after the destruction of the material world. That's Shiva to the Prachetas. Very high. Paragraph. Some demigods, including Lord Shiva, are qualified for promotion to Vaikuntha, but only after they complete their long appointments as universal rulers and after their subtle bodies are dissolved by the attainment of liberation. This is really elevated. Okay. But pure devotees, graced with a sufficient portion of Lord Vishnu's mercy, need not serve such long terms as demigods, semicolon. They can achieve Vaikuntha much more quickly. Reread in the Itihasa Samuchaya, in the narration about Mudgala. Who's Mudgala? It doesn't say. Above the domain, this is quoting these verses from the Itihasa Samuchaya. Mudgala, M-U-D-G-A-L.
I'm checking, I was just typing to find out.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. That's just giving the spelling. Translation of whatever this is, Itihasa Samuchaya. Above the domain of impersonal Brahman is that supreme abode of Lord Vishnu. It is pure eternal sky. It is the pure eternal sky known as Para Brahman. Saintly persons who are free from possessiveness and ego, who are beyond dualities, who have controlled their senses and are fixed in meditation, meditational yoga, go to that abode. Interesting. The eternal abode, the eternal unborn Lord Hari or Krishna, is variously known as Vishnu, Krishna, Jishnu, Vishvaksena, and the four-armed Lord Narayana. Those who worship that Supreme Lord, meditating on Him as the Supreme Transcendental Person, remembering Him as the infallible Lord, achieve His infallible abode. Such is the eternal proclamation of revealed scriptures. Any indication of who that person is? Not yet.
Then I have, says there was a rishi by the name Utkal, who was a Rajarshi, originally born as a Kshatriya, but later due to severe meditation or tapasya, he became a Brahmana. And apparently from that time on, the descendants have been called Brahmanas.
Called?
Brahmanas. Elsewhere it says that he was a very strong follower of Lord Ganesha.
Okay, so the references we read in the Itihasa Samuchaya in the narration about Mudgala, all these things we just read. Oh, here we go. In the context of this verse of the Itihasa Samuchaya, the word Brahmana, Sadanad, Urdhvam should be understood to refer not to Lord Brahma's planet, but to Malakalapur, the abode of liberation. Abode of Liberation is what he experienced when he, just after leaving the layers of the universe, Mahakalapur. In that Mukti Pada, or the abode of Mahakalapur, liberated souls merge into Sayuja, in intense meditation on Brahman. Vaikuntha is superior. Vaikuntha is superior both to the Muktipada and the Mahesh Dham, the abode of Lord Shiva. Paragraph. Because Lord Shiva, though an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, plays the role of a devotee, he humbly compares himself unfavorably with the residents of Vaikuntha. But in reality, even the personal associates of Lord Narayan worship Lord Shiva as an incarnation of Narayan. They see him as an incarnation of Narayan, or Shaktivesha avatar, I guess. Some kind. Guna avatar, at least. Guna avatar. Incarnation of Lord Narayan. Those associates have similar respect for all of Lord Narayan's incarnations, even the Jivas, or Shaktivesha avatars. The apparent hierarchy among them these expansions of Godhead rests not on their actual relative superiority, but merely on how each avatar shows himself either as a portion of God or as God's devotee. This will be explained more clearly later on. That's good. In the instructions given by Narada Muni. So it's still Shiva speaking. But you deserve to go to Vaikuntha. Wow. I'm not eligible, but you're eligible. Oh, son of a Govardhan cowherd, for you are a devotee of the Lord of Mathura, a disciple of the Brahmana attached only to the Lord's devotional service, a soul dedicated to the Lord's mantra given you by your guru, who is is faithful in your service to the Lord. Wow. I'll read that again. So the reference is, this is Shiva to Kumar, the Gopa Kumar. You're eligible to go to Vaikuntha because you're a devotee of the Lord of Mathura, a disciple of a Brahmin attached only to the Lord's devotional service, a soul dedicated to the Lord's mantra given you by your guru, and one who is faithful in your absence, one who is faithful in your service to the Lord. Short commentary. Although Sri Vaikuntha Loka is extremely difficult to achieve, Gopakumar is fit to go there. Lord Shiva merely mentions the 10-syllable Gopal mantra. Where has he mentioned it? Lord Shiva merely mentions the 10-syllable Gopal mantra with great respect as Tadiya Tan Matram, that mantra of his. Because further words could not adequately describe the glories of the mantra, and the extent of its potency. For Gopakumar, chanting this mantra is not a mechanical exercise, but the means for awakening his intimate, loving reciprocation with Lord Madana Gopal. I'm not clear what was just said. I'll read it again. I'm really tired. I'm kind of half falling asleep as I'm reading it. I was up at 1:30 this morning.
Yeah. Himangi mentioned you were up early.
Huh?
Himangi mentioned Maharaj was up very early.
I was up, and it's affecting me now. Anyway. I'll read the verse and the commentary. Shiva is saying to Gopakumar, we're not eligible, but you're eligible. Why? Because you are a devotee of the Lord of Mathura, a disciple of a Brahmana attached only to the Lord's devotional service, a soul dedicated to the Lord's mantra given you by your Guru, and one who is faithful in your service to the Lord. I see. Okay, that's not clear. Commentary. Although Sri Vaikuntha Loka is extremely difficult to achieve, Gopakumar is fit to go there. Lord Shiva merely mentions the 10-syllable Gopal mantra with great respect as Tadiya Tan Mantra. Okay, now that's clear. He doesn't say anything about the mantra, he just indirectly mentions it. Tadiya Tan Mantra. That mantra of capital H, his. Tadiya Tan Mantra. Okay, Tadiya, which is addressed to that Lord. Tan Mantra, to that mantra. Okay. He doesn't say the mantra by name, he just makes it. It's a mantra that's Tadiya of the Supreme Lord, or the Lord of Mathura. The mantra is his Tadiya. Because further words could not adequately express the glories of the mantra and the extent of its potency. For Gopakumar, chanting this mantra is not a mechanical exercise, but the means for awakening his intimate loving reciprocation with the Lord, Madan Gopal. Okay. There's the whole this part 2. I'm fascinated with how it's being presented by Sanatana Goswami, but the efficacy of Madan Gopal mantra and its effect on Gopakumar, its effect on the Mathura Brahmin in different ways, because they're different personalities. But the mantra is the means for awakening his intimate loving reciprocation with the Lord of the mantra, or Lord Madan Gopal. Very clear. Now, after reading it again. So that the place where they are, let's see what time it is. The place where they are is because the verse opens, it's the place of Sayuja. Because he crossed the coverings of the universe, so he's in the Brahmajyoti, and he saw Mahakalapur, and the Mahakala, the personality, came and went, and came and went, came and went. And then that stopped when Lord Shiva and his associates came, and now in that midst of that discussion with Lord Shiva and his associates, the Vaikuntha Dutas have come. So they're still in the abode of Sayuja. That's what it says, the next verse. Here is the abode of Sayuja, one of the 4 kinds of liberation. Here indeed is the goal of renunciates, whose minds are fixed on the thought of absolute oneness, whose hearts have dried up in the blazing fire of material miseries, who, pursue the worthless as if it were real, unable within themselves to discriminate between what has value and what does not. I, Lord Shiva, make them fall into the ocean of bewilderment by the order of Krishna, who wants to hide them from the secret of prema bhakti to his lotus feet. Now this is, the goal is prema, and prema is hard to attain. So the Lord hides it. It's a very, lengthy description of different places. It's rarely achieved. But liberation is rarely achieved. Moksha, it derives even the conception of liberation. Krishna doesn't readily give it. So that's what this is saying. I make them fall into the ocean of bewilderment by the order of Krishna, who wants to hide from them the secret of prema bhakti to his lotus feet. Devotees who care only for the ecstasy of worshipping the Supreme Lord neglect this impersonal abode. Knowing this, you too should reject it as an obstacle to your progress. Really beautiful. Commentaries, a few pages. The abode of liberation is a fitting place for impersonalists, keen on Sayuja Mukti, but not for a cowherd worshipper of Madhu Gopal. Sri Harivangsha. In Sri Harivangsha, Lord Krishna describes Mahakalapur to Arjuna as follows. Long Sanskrit verse, translation. This vast expanse of divine Brahman effulgence you see, O best of Bharatas, I myself am that. This infinite light is eternal. It is my superior eternal nature, both manifest and unmanifest. The most expert knowers of yoga enter it and become liberated. Oh, Partha, it is the goal of the Sankhya philosophers and austere yogis, the supreme transcendental Brahman pervading the entire universe, descendant of Bharata. Know this to be my concentrated effulgence. Paragraph. The Mahakalapur described in this paragraph of Sri Harivangsha is the same region Gopakumar saw outside the coverings of the universe. Both Srimad Bhagavatam and Harivangsha mention that Krishna and Arjuna, while traveling to Mahakalapur, passed Lokaloka, Barsha, the Vedic cosmology. Some take this to mean that the Mahakalapur they visited was a place inside the egg of the universe, in the outer region where sunlight does not reach. Crossing Lokaloka can also be understood, however, to mean passing beyond the 14 worlds that exist in the realm of light, Loka, and also beyond the rest of the outer universe, which lies in complete darkness, Aloka. What does that mean? So there's the Vedic cosmology on the other side where the light of the sun doesn't go, but there's another meaning. To pass beyond the 14 worlds that exist in the realm of light, Loka, and also beyond the rest of the outer universe, the rest of the outer universe, that's maybe the coverings, which lie in complete darkness, Aloka. And that's all it says.
So it seems like it's the periphery outside the universe.
Well, the outer universe which lies in complete darkness. The outer universe. Beyond the rest of the outer universe, which lies in complete darkness. We don't hear much about that. Okay. Mahakalapur is a suitable destination for impersonal sannyasis for the reasons Lord Shiva mentions in text 108 through to 111. This is this one to 111. Non-devotee sannyasis lack real spiritual knowledge and are incapable of discerning the spiritual existence of things. As Brahma says in Bhagavatam 11:14-4, Stula Tusha Bhagatinam. They're just beating the empty husks of grains already threshed. They are in this pitiful condition because Lord Shiva has cast them into the ocean of material bewilderment, as he himself explains in the Uttarakhanda of Padma Purana. Quote, the Mayavad philosophy is a false interpretation of the revealed scriptures. It is considered no more than a covered form of Buddhism. O Devi, I shall appear as a Brahmana in the age of Kali to teach this philosophy. Then another verse from Padma Purana. I shall describe the absolute truth in a contrary way, as devoid of qualities, just to bewilder the entire universe in the age of Kali. Lord Shiva performs this thankless task on the direct order of Lord Krishna, who, as recorded in Bharat Sahasranam Stotra, Brihad Sahasranam Stotra, Padma Purana. Translation, by concocting your own doctrines, turn the general populace against me. Sahasranam Stotra, Padma Purana. Final paragraph. Because Sri Krishna wanted to keep his pure devotional service confidential, he requested Lord Shiva to create this confusion. But Vaishnavas, whose only serious ambition in life is to achieve the blissful rasa of worship of Krishna, reject impersonal liberation. Gopakumar, Lord Shiva advises, should reject it also, like any obstacle to his practice of Bhagavad Bhakti. The next verse has a 6-page purport. Very cleverly, the Brahmana residing in Dwaraka who wanted to taste the rasa of Krishna Bhakti brought his sons from here to Dwaraka. That's the Brahman who lost his sons. And Arjuna went, and Krishna went to get his sons from Mahavishnu. That's what it's being referred to. Very cleverly, the Brahmana residing in Dwaraka, who wanted to taste the rasa of Krishna Bhakti, brought his sons from here to Dwaraka. 6-page commentary. Besides scripture, the behavior of respectable persons also proves the Sayuja Mukti is undesirable for Vaishnavas. The motive of the Dwarka Brahmana who came to Ugrasena complaining about the untimely death of his newborn sons was actually, as the motive was actually, to bring the sons back from the abode of liberation. The residents of Dwarka during Krishna's appearance all had spiritual Satchitananda bodies, and on the strength of their loving service to the lotus feet of Sri Devaki Nandan, they felt contempt for the happiness of impersonal liberation. Paragraph. Some persons, in their attempt to explain the Puranic histories, say that the residents of Dwarka were only human beings with bodies made of the five material elements because the historical accounts describe their births and deaths. Even in material bodies, these Puranic scholars say, the residents of Dwarka obtained intimate relationships with Krishna because of their unique devotion to him and pure love. Paragraph. These commentators, however, to make their theory fit the facts, ought to concede that the Dwarkavasis only seemed to act like ordinary materially embodied human beings. If that is what they actually were, they would have been unfit to join the various pleasure pastimes of the personality Godhead, whose bodily form is Satchitananda. Moreover, it is an established fact that the power of Bhagavat Bhakti, by the power of Bhagavat Bhakti, one's body becomes completely spiritual, and this principle should certainly apply to the pure devotees of Dwarka. Okay, that's 1 page out of 6. The scholars may retort that if the devotees of Dwarka only seem to have material bodies, then the Lord's having assumed a human form and behaving like a human being must also have been only a pretense. By this they say, but this they say cannot be so, because Srimad Bhagavatam says that every one of the Supreme Lord's personal forms is eternally real and all-pervading. Paragraph. Now, what the scholars say should, on its surface, be granted. Certainly the personality Godhead's appearance is never imitations of material life, since all of them are eternal, and he reveals himself perpetually in those various forms to his various worshippers. Moreover, again supporting the scholar's view, authoritative scriptures describe that the residents of the Lord's abodes, like Dwarka, sometimes abandon their imitation human appearance and assume their purely spiritual Satchitananda forms. That's the residents. Sometimes. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29, that's the gopis, where Gopi Gita starts, or the rasa dance section. Describes, for example, that some of the gopis who could not join the rasa dance gave up their human bodies and at once obtained their Satchitananda bodies. Long Sanskrit quoted, here's the translation. Some of the gopis, unable to get out of their houses, instead remained home with eyes closed, meditating upon Lord Krishna and pure love. For those gopis, intolerable separation from their beloved caused an intense agony that burned away all impious karma. By meditating upon him, they realized his embrace, and their ecstasy exhausted their material piety. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Soul, these girls simply thought of him as their male lover and associated with him in that intimate mood. Thus, their karmic bondage was nullified and they abandoned their gross material bodies, unquote. Same paragraph. By giving up their human bodies, these gopis were able to join the personality Godhead in their original forms and enjoy with him the pleasure pastimes that most attracted them. So that's now 2 pages out of 6. Here it seems that the gopis regained their spiritual bodies, eternal bodies, blissful and full of knowledge, bodies just like that of the Lord. It was in this way that the gopis were able to be sangata, more intimately associated with Krishna. Paragraph. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-37, this is Uddhava carrying the message to the gopis. In the message Uddhava carried to Vrindavan, the Lord told of the same incident in a similar way. Gives the Sanskrit quote, although some gopis had to stay in the cowherd village and were unable to join the rasa dance to sport with me at night in the forest, they were fortunate nonetheless, for they attained me by thinking of my potent pastimes, unquote. Similar to this regaining of spiritual identity by the gopis was the liberation of Shishupal and Dantavakra. When these former gatekeepers of Lord Narayana's kingdom were killed by Sri Krishna, the curse against them by Sanaka and his brothers ended, and the souls of the former gatekeepers were seen to merge into Krishna's effulgence. Note, this apparent merging, however, was not actually Sayuja Mukti. Why? Because for these two persons, who were devotees of the Supreme Lord, and even residents of Vaikuntha, impersonal liberation would have been the worst misfortune. In the Bhagavatam 7:147, Narada Muni is talking about the Shishupal thing, describes what really happened to Shishupal and Dantavakra. Quotes the verse. Quote, these two associates of Lord Vishnu, Jai and Vijay, maintained a feeling of enmity for a very long time. Because of always thinking of Krishna in this way, they regained the shelter of the Lord, having returned home back to Godhead, unquote. Same paragraph. This fulfilled the word of Lord Vishnu when Jai and Vijay, cursed by the four Kumaras, were able to fall from their home in Vaikuntha. Lord Vishnu assured them that they would return to his abode after only 3 lifetimes. So, Jai and Vijay gave up their material bodies to resume their posts in their spiritual bodies as eternal servants of the Lord. Paragraph. That's 4 pages, 2 more to go. Srila Sanatana Goswami has thus entertained the theoretical possibility that devotees who live in the Lord's abode during his appearance sometimes have material bodies. His own opinion, however, is different. He firmly holds that just as the Lord's appearance, even as a human being within the world of mortals, is always purely transcendental, so also are the, quote, human bodies of the devotees who take part in his pastimes. When those devotees appear or disappear, they are either responding to the needs of the pastimes of their beloved Lord, or expressing the ecstasies of their fully blossomed prema. And this is the way we should understand such phrases as, quote, putting aside their bodies, unquote, which are used in the Puranas to describe the disappearance of devotees from this world. Paragraph. The 3 verses cited above about the gopis who could not join the rasa dance, that's chapter 29 of Canto 10, can thus be elucidated as follows. So here's what it means. Those gopis at once gave up their bodies, although those bodies were gunamaya, full of all excellent spiritual qualities, and this means that as a pastime, those gopis disappeared from the sight of this world. As stated, those particular gopis were especially qualified, for they had fully achieved the Supreme Soul, having gained his association in the mood of his paramours. This, indeed, is in all instances the prime cause of the gopis' perfection. Paragraph. Therefore, when the Bhagavatam 10:29-11 uses the word prakshina bandhana, this indicates not that the gopis confined to their homes were released from karma and freed from material bodies, but that they achieved the special mercy of the personality of Godhead, thereby gaining release from bondage to the duties and prohibitions of the Vedas. Spontaneous bhakti carries one beyond vidhis and nishedas. By their meditation, intense. In the same line of thought, Sri Narada states in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam, 4:29-46, quote, when a person is fully engaged in devotional service, he is favored by the Lord, who bestows his causeless mercy. At such a time, the awakened devotee gives up all material activities and ritualistic performances mentioned in the Vedas. Paragraph. Final page of the 6-page purport. And speaking of the gopis locked up in their homes during the Rasa dance, the Bhagavatam states, Nirvritya Kshina Mangala, which in its most obvious sense means, quote, by their joy, their pious karma was destroyed. But Sanatana Goswami, dividing the words differently, says that Krishna's embrace within their meditation gave them such exceptional joy that their auspiciousness, symbolized by their marks of tilak, never faded. Akshina Mangala. Or else, Sanatana Goswami suggests taking a different meaning of Akshina Mangala. Their pious credits and their all auspicious practice of devotional service were made unshakable. And the phrase Duta Shubha, meaning that their impious karma was removed, may also be taken to mean, instead, that even in such a fortunate condition, the intolerable agony of separation from the beloved destroyed quickly, or Ashub, their effulgence. Bha, Ashub, Bha. Or, alternatively, they were spared for the future misfortune, Ashubha, of suffering separation from Krishna upon his departure from Vrindavan for Mathura. 2 more paragraphs. These gopis had earned Krishna's intimate association by considering him their paramour. Shukadeva Goswami does not further elaborate on that subject in these verses because the topic is too confidential to discuss in an open assembly. The parakiya mood of the gopis is told of in detail in various verses in the Gita Govinda, such as the one beginning Nibritta Nikunja Graham Kataya. Last paragraph. Shukadeva Goswami mentions that these gopis meditated on Krishna milita lochana, that is, with their eyes half closed, like those of yogis practicing dhyan. Or, understanding this figuratively, they had closed the two eyes of Shruti and Smriti. According to the statements of Shruti Smriti, Ubhe Netre, the Vedic scriptures, in the form of Shruti and Smriti, are the eyes of knowledge for conditioned souls. The fully realized gopis had no more use for scriptural directions. Thus, they closed their eyes to everything external and simply focused their hearts on Krishna. Then, because they were not allowed to leave their homes to join him in the rasa dance, they gave up their bodies. Well, I didn't know we were getting to all that. I selected this section because I want to hear what the Vishnu Dutas say about the distinction between meditation and chanting, because there have been in the past and there are currently groups of people that they're opposed to audible chanting, and their thing is meditation. They're in this visit to Radhakund, one of the places one of the first places that we visited was the temple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. One of the glories of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was that he gave the scriptural reference that defeated Rupa Kaviraj, because Rupa Kaviraj, after making his defense, went off in a different direction, and one of the different directions, two of the different directions, those who are grahastas cannot become guru, and then the other was a distorted Raganuga Bhakti teaching. One doesn't need the regulations, one doesn't need to chant, one just does meditation on, whatever you meditate on when you follow him. And he had a following because he was like a charismatic guy. And they were, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they were disciples of God brothers. So they were in age equal. And in terms of, before the offense, they were both, highly respected preachers, teachers of the Bhagavatam, etc., etc. But apparently, I'm not too clear about this, but apparently there are vestiges of that idea, not that, they're necessarily in a line from him, but there are persons like him that you don't follow the regulations and you don't chant, you just do dhyan. And in dhyan, in following the rag path. And apparently there's a group of people somewhere in Vrindavan that have that view. Apparently it was something that was going on during Sanatana Goswami's time too. Because there's a whole section. Okay. Srila Prabhupada,